Chapter 21. Leading the army to Chaogai. Using our soldiers to help defend the country for Dahan. Gao Xianzi. He's really bold, and he dares to write a report to the marshal to ask for help. Humph. A strategist let out a cold snort. As one strategist opened his mouth, the other strategists counted down. Although Gao Xianzi was able to fight well, but the number of Northern Expeditionary Army was just too much. Besides, now that there was a full-scale counterattack, Gao Xianzi was unable to follow up. And that was why he needed reinforcements to help Gao Xianzi. That is, to help Guhai defend the country. Using one's own soldiers to help someone else defend their home. What a joke. Marshal, recall the 6th Legion. Yes, Marshal, Gao Xianzi has had enough fun. It's time to come. The strategists urged, clearly not wanting to help the Great Han Dynasty. On the side, Sima Changkong laughed bitterly. You guys are thinking simplistically. The crowd looked at Sima Changkong and said, when the general is outside, the king's orders are not to be taken. Sima Changkong shook his head and said, Mr. Sima, are you saying that Gao Xianzi dares to disobey the marshal's orders? Even if he, Gao Xianzi, is bold, aren't there others? Inform Bailey War. Inform the other generals and bring Gao Xianzi back immediately, a strategist said in a deep voice. The problem is, Bailey War and the others, will they still listen to you? Sima Changkong shook his head and said, what does Mr. Sima mean? The crowd was at a loss. Sima Changkong didn't explain, but instead looked at the Divine Martial King. Are you saying that the 6th Legion, nowadays, only listens to Gao Xianzi? The Divine Martial King said in a deep voice. All signs seem to indicate that the 6th Legion is indeed already surnamed Gao. Sima Changkong laughed bitterly. HMPH. The Divine Martial King let out a cold snort. It's a pity that the Marshal's many rewards have failed to impress Gao Xianzi's heart after all. Alas, Sima Changkong sighed slightly. The strategists were stunned for a while. There was disbelief and horror. Gao Xianzi led the army to war for a few months and abducted the 6th Legion. Really, Marshal, should we try? Maybe. A strategist held a hopeful attitude. King Shenwu, however, did not open his mouth, just as Sima Changkong said. It was no longer appropriate to try. Marshal, the location where Gao Xianzi asked for assistance in his report is in Chaogai City. He's confident that he will lead the Northern Expeditionary Army to Chaogai City. Sima Changkong frowned. Asking us to protect Guhai's dynastic capital, Chaogai. How is that possible? Marshal, we are not Guhai's private army. There was a burst of rejection from the schemers, and King Shenwu nodded. Marshal, this report from Gao Xianzi, Sima Changkong said gruffly. Leave it in the center, and don't send it out. King Shenwu said indifferently. Northern Expedition City. The main hall. Boom. The Northern Expedition Marshal slammed the table with a loud bang. 3 legions. All of them were held back by Gao Xianzi. The Marshal said coldly. Yes, Grand Marshal, that lost 12 cities. The Grand Marshal thought that their hearts were not yet stable, and that they needed to be recaptured immediately, so he sent the 3 major legions there. However, Gao Xianzi made things difficult at every turn and kept obstructing our 3 major legions, causing the 3 major legions to not be able to capture a single city at all. Marshal, from what you said, Grand Duke Chongsheng has already traveled to the capital of the Great Qian Dynasty. The war should be almost over, right? We don't want to think about the multitude of cities in Yingzhou. These 12 cities that were tricked by Guhai, we must snatch them back. Yes, Grand Marshal, the major legions are fighting against the Divine Martial King's army in Yingzhou. Is it better to transfer them back? Take back what belongs to us first. The generals analyzed. The Grand Marshal narrowed his eyes and shook his head. No, the final result is not out yet. The troops in Yingzhou cannot be withdrawn. Once we withdraw our troops, the divine martial king's army will swiftly move southwards. And at that time, it won't just be these 12 cities that we will lose. The other legions are holding back King Shenwu's army. What about Gao Xianzi's army? Those 12 cities we lost, don't want them. A general frowned. Fighting with Great Jian, capturing and losing cities is just a matter of course. Humph, a small junior imperial dynasty, also want to pull teeth from a tiger's mouth. Gao Xianzi, his military strength is limited after all. This marshal will personally march and take it down, the marshal said in a deep voice. Yes, the crowd of generals answered. Outside Qinglu City, the lord of Qinglu City sent a large amount of supplies to Gao Xianzi. Gao Xianzi only stationed himself outside the city and did not enter the city. Many thanks to General Gao, repelled this group of Yuan troops. Qinglu City Lord said gratefully. Once the Yuan soldiers entered the city lord of Qinglu, who had just lost and regained his position, as the city lord would be lost again, and he would become a prisoner again, Gao Xianzi was able to repel the Yuan soldiers. The city lord of Qinglu was naturally grateful. Qinglu city lord need not care. You are the subjects of Great Han. Gao Xianzi has the obligation to protect. Qinglu city lord opened the city guard formation. During this period of time, everyone who enters and leaves the city gates should be strictly checked to prevent accidents. Gao Xianzi laughed. It should be. Our wounded soldiers, housed in your cities, please take care of them, Gao Xianzi solemnly said. The 6th Legion also suffered casualties, and the wounded soldiers were all housed in a bunch of cities. General Gao, where are your words? Don't worry. We will definitely use the best elixir and find the best elixir master to treat them, Qinglu City Lord assured. Thank you, Gao Xianzi nodded. After sending off the Qinglu City Lord, a large number of pills and weapons were naturally arranged by Gao Xianzi. In Gao Xianzi's camp, in the middle of the main camp, stood a group of generals such as Bailey War. General, your guerrilla warfare method is really powerful. The 3 major legions of the Northern Expeditionary Army were all fooled by us. Ha ha ha, Bailey War laughed out loud. General's guerrilla warfare is invincible. The crowd of generals laughed. My guerrilla warfare method. Heh, you guys are overacclaimed. It's just me learning from the Emperor's skin. Gao Xianzi shook his head and laughed. The smiles of the generals froze. It's nothing really. General Bailey should have some information on me, right? My art of war and the way I fight were learnt from the Emperor in the past. So your compliments are holding me up to high, Gao Xianzi laughed. The crowd looked towards Bailey War. Bailey War frowned slightly, followed by a bitter smile. General, we are here to block the Yuan army, and some people say that General is defending the country for the sake of Great Han. Bailey War frowned. The crowd immediately looked at Gao Xianzi, each one serious. Gao Xianzi was silent for a while and did not deny it, but nodded and said, That's right. The crowd of generals revealed a bewildered look. Bailey War also frowned deeply. It is true that the 6th Legion has been helping Great Han to defend the country, but, don't you all see? Because of our 6th Legion, 4 of Da Yuan's Northern Expeditionary Army have been held by us, haven't they? Gao Xianzi laughed. Not bad. Together with that Northern Expeditionary Army's 6th Legion that we destroyed. This army of ours has achieved the most impressive battle results of all the Zhenan army, thanks to General anticipating the enemy like a god. Yes, General. So what if we protect Dahan? As long as we hold the Yuan soldiers at bay, it's a war achievement, and because of us, the other legions have had it easy. Yes, we held back most of the Northern Expeditionary Army's troops. Helping the Great Han dynasty is just incidental. The crowd of generals nodded their heads, affirming Gao Xianzi's argument. But this Bailey battle was still worried. After all, King Shenwu had also assigned himself the task of persuading Gao Xianzi. But Gao Xianzi was helping Great Han. What's the point of persuading? Gao Xianzi took a deep breath and said, "Generals, I know that perhaps some of you are still holding a grudge against me for leading my troops south. So let's do it this way. I won't force you all. If you all feel that I did something wrong, you can leave with your armies attached to your drinks, and I will never blame you." The generals were slightly stunned. At the same time, I will also write a special letter to King Shenwu. In the letter, I will never erase the slightest bit of how much merit you have done, and emphasize that it is me who asked you to go back. So there is no need to worrying. As long as you want to leave, Gao Xianzi will never stop you, Gao Xianzi solemnly said. "Marshal," Bailey Battle said tauntingly, "I take the army south, but take you guys risk, and, in the next few days we are facing, will be the main commander of the Northern Expeditionary Army personally siege, the next even more dangerous. I will not go. Who want to go? Still my Gao Xianzi brothers. Gao Xianzi will never stop. Personally send you all," Gao Xianzi said with a straight face. The crowd of generals were slightly silent. "Fuck off, General. I'll follow you. Wherever you fight, I'll follow you. General, I'll follow you too. General, I'm not leaving. I'm going to kill more Yuan soldiers with General." During this time, Gao Xianzi's reigning in had an effect. On the battlefield, between life and death, was the place where brotherly feelings could be cultivated the most. For a while, nearly everyone looked up to Gao Xianzi. Even Bai Warrior, after a period of entanglement, seemed to have suddenly figured it out. "General, Bailey War follows you," Bailey War said with a solemn expression. Gao Xianzi keenly noticed the change in Bailey War's state of mind, and immediately gave a slight salute to Bailey War. "General must not." Bailey War immediately changed his face. He gave a salute to Bailey War, followed by a salute to all the generals present. "General," the crowd immediately tried to stop them. Gao Xianzi thanks all the generals for their trust, even though the battle is tough. Gao Xianzi will do his best to keep all the generals safe, Gao Xianzi said with a solemn expression. "Thank you, General." All the generals bowed down. As Sima Changkong had expected, the 6th Legion at this moment was already at the beck and call of Gao Xianzi. Gao Xianzi's guess was correct. In just 2 days, the commander of the Northern Expeditionary Army has personally led his troops to fully conquer Gao Xianzi. Guerrilla tactics were used by Gao Xianzi to the extreme, and a large number of flying boats were temporarily recruited from a number of surrounding cities to fight against the Northern Expeditionary Army's 5 legions and 5 million troops, at the same time with 1 legion's army of 700,000 soldiers. The war continues. The advantage of guerrilla warfare, that, if you can't beat them, you can run away. And there are flying boats to facilitate. 700,000 troops, dozens of flying boats, immediately forced the Northern Expeditionary Army, did not dare to disperse, on top of a huge flying boat of the Northern Expeditionary Army. The Northern Expedition Grand Marshal's eyes narrowed slightly as he listened to the battle reports from the 4 directions. "Hehe, Gao Xianzi is leading us towards Chaogai City," the Grand Marshal said in a deep voice. "Yes, Grand Marshal. Should we continue chasing?" A general frowned. The Marshal looked into the distance with an icy gaze. "Once and for all, not bad. Hey, chase after them. Take down Chaogai City, and all 24 cities of Great Han will be ours." A determination flashed in the eyes of the Grand Marshal